Let's continue. Robert is in Vermont. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, Robert. Do we have Robert?
I beat the breathalyzer quite a few years ago.
What about
one?
it? You beat it? How?
You were asking if anybody had ever beat the breathalyzer test.
How'd you do it?
I was on my way home, and, I had come from, a bar about an hour earlier, and I had drank a Boilermaker. And an hour after I got into town, I had the music turned up real loud back then. I was real cocky when I was young.
Oh, yeah.
And, the police, came up, behind me, and, they pulled me over, and the cop got out, and he says, don't you think that music's a little bit too loud? And I said, no, I don't think it was. And he says, let me see your license and registration. And I said, okay, here you go. And the cop he says, I smell alcohol. He says, you been drinking? And I says, I can neither deny nor confirm. And he didn't like it. He didn't like that at all. And he grabbed the door and he said, "What's step out of the car?" And we did the sobriety dance out in the middle of the street. Mm-hmm. And he says, look like you were wobbling around a little bit. He says, I'm going to have to take you down to the station. We're going to have to do the breathalyzer. So I went with him. And
what happened to your car? What happened to your car?
They left it there.
Okay.
Interesting.
And they brought me down to the station. I got in the station, and the cop comes up to me and he says, it's going to take about 20 minutes for this machine to warm up.
Warm up?
He says,
yeah.
He goes, he says, don't cough, don't clear your throat, don't put your hands to your mouth or anything. He says, just sit there in the chair for about 20 minutes. And I said, well, no, I'm thinking that this should be all right. And another cop comes out around the corner. He sets a chair in front of me, and he's sitting there for 20 minutes staring at me, And then, the other cop says, all right, come on, we're going to do the test. And I said, he says, blow into this tube. He says, blow, 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 blow. And so I blew into the tube. And, a few minutes later, the cop comes back and he says, I don't think the machine's working right. He says, we're going to have to go ahead and do the test again, And I said, well, what was the results? And he said, well, it was just a little bit below the legal limit.
Yeah, do it again. Let's see if we can get you over that number.
Yeah, I wonder, in this case, it seems very strange. I wonder, you wouldn't be refusing a breathalyzer at this point if you refused the second breathalyzer.
One.
No, I didn't refuse it. I took one.
So did you refuse?
So anyways, I had to sit there for another 20 minutes while this cop stared at me. I was getting really kind of annoyed after 40 minutes of staring at this guy. And so I took the test again, and the second time it came around, it was lower than the first time.
That's how it's supposed to work. Okay.
And so, the cop says, well, he says, you passed the test. He says, do you have somebody that you could call to come get you?
What?
And I said, why do I got to have somebody call and get me? I says, I passed all three of your tests.
Yeah, take me back to my damn car.
He says, well, even though you passed the test, he says, we can't let you go because if you get hurt on the way home, he says, we're liable.
Ridiculous. I don't believe that. I think that's a lie.
It also doesn't sound to me, the description of what you just told us, sir, was I know how to beat the breathalyzer. And it sounds to me as though there was no special trick being done here. What you had described before was you had a Boilermaker, which is, to my understanding, a shot inside of a beer. Now,
Drink
if you
less.
were just under the legal limit, it would seem to me you might have had maybe 2 of those or maybe even 3. But it doesn't sound to me like there was some special trick to beating the breathalyzer here. The way you beat the breathalyzer is, you either don't take it or you argue against it in court because it can be beaten in court.
Yeah, it was a good story. I mean, it wasn't a technique on how anyone else could double the same experience, but nonetheless, Robert, how did you end up getting back to the car?
Well, the cop says I'll have to call somebody to come get me, and I said, well, I don't have anybody I could call. I said, why don't you just take me back to my car or take me home? I said, I was almost there. And the cop says, well, our insurance won't cover that.
Well, you should have thought of that before you kidnapped me off the side of the highway.
Right. So they wouldn't let they were arguing that if they just let you walk away, that would be a problem.
Yeah.
That somehow they're liable if you walk out of the police station and walk down a sidewalk, but they're not liable if you walk out of the police station and then get into someone else's car who then drives you down the street. It's just ridiculous.
Right. And so I couldn't, find anybody to come get me, so I ended up, they brought me to the county jail. I was there for probably 6 to 8 hours.
Unbelievable. Now, why were you there for so long? Was it until you could reach someone or what?
No, because you have to be there for a certain amount of time.
Put them in a drunk tank. They put him in a drunk tank. So that
they protective custodied you even though you weren't drunk enough to be not driving.
Exactly.
They've got the DWI laws can be funny in certain places. Like in New York, as a matter of fact, if you're between if you're from 0.05 to 0.079, if you're 0.041 to 0.079, that's actually like a violation. It's like you could almost get like a ticket for it. So in some places they'd say even though you're if you're a 0.079, you're under the 0.08 limit, it's still not legal for you to drive, and they can even charge you with driving while intoxicated, even if you're below it, because they just feel that you're intoxicated.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Just close enough.
Robert, thanks for sharing your story.
Mad's trying to lower
Appreciate
the limit
it.
too, by the way.
Oh yeah, they absolutely want to do that.
They'll go to 0.06.
Yeah, they'll take it down to 0.04 if they get the opportunity.
How many more
these
lives
people want it zero. Will
they ruin?
Mothers Against Drunk Driving is neo-prohibitionist. These people want to ban alcohol, a lot of them. They're not screwing around. And you even talk to, you can look at Candace Leitner, who founded Mothers Against Drunk Driving. She even said it. She's like, look, I made Mothers Against Drunk Driving to fight against drunk driving, not alcohol. Her own words is, Mothers Against Drunk Driving has become far more neo-prohibitionist than I ever intended it to be. These people are out of control. Wow. They have a serious agenda, and it's not about saving lives anymore.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.